the National Weather Service radar in Greenville, Spartanburg, out of the Greer office, which serves upstate South Carolina, but also as far to the east as that I-77 corridor, it's down. It is not working. And so tomorrow we have this situation before us where we are not going to be able to use both the GSP radar, but also the radar out of the National Weather Service in Wilmington. What you have on the screen right now, for those of you watching with us on Facebook and YouTube, is what the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg has put out kind of to show you the other radars that are going to try to fill in the gap in lieu of having the GSP radar tomorrow. And they include the Charlotte Terminal radar. What is facing them right now is this. Take a look at this picture, if I can make it nice and big on your screen. But this is the bowl gear of the radar that is supposed to be spinning and servicing upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina. And what you see there is metal shavings. So the weight of the 15,000-pound pedestal has grinded away at this bowl gear over the past 27 years to the point where on December 31st, the thing stops spinning. And so you need that radar inside that radar dome to spin in order to see the atmosphere. And without it, it doesn't spin. It doesn't work. So the National Weather Service has put together a plan to have the radar for GSP back online, but not until February 4th. Which means we have to go through tomorrow's event and any other future events between now and February 4th without the radar in GSP. The issue in Wilmington is a little bit different. That one was intentional. The radars that service across the country were built and deployed in the 90s using technology from the 80s. And so in order to keep these things running through the year 2030, the Weather Service, the Air Force, and others are investing millions of dollars to upgrade and refurbish the radars. And so what's going to happen over the course of the next 6 months is that the radars across the region, Wilmington, Columbia, Charleston, Greer, Blacksburg, Raleigh, Morehead City, Wakefield, are all going to go offline. This was planned. This was going to be, we're going to take these things offline for 2 weeks, and we're going to get the pedestal refurbished. The pedestal being that really heavy piece that spins the antenna around and allows it to go 360 degrees. Well, you'll see on the screen here that Greer wasn't scheduled for their upgrade until early March, but when the thing just broke at the end of December, it jumped the line a little bit. So now that is going to start at the end of January. What that really does to the rest of the schedule, I don't know for sure, but I think the gist is the same, that between now and June, expect every radar in the Carolinas to intentionally and temporarily go offline for 2 weeks so that we can have it into the future for a longer period of time. But gentlemen, you guys know, you've been on this show long enough, the radar coverage in the Carolinas leaves some things to be desired, as we have talked about time and time again. In a city of 1 million people here in Charlotte, we are 70, 80, 90 miles away to our nearest full-blown, full-power radar. So that means we're going to go through tomorrow's event without that radar to our west. We're going to have to rely on radars in Atlanta, in Tennessee. And then as we get into the Charlotte area, it's going to be a mix of hoping the Columbia radar is good to go and has its Wheaties for breakfast, along with the radar in Roanoke and eventually out to Raleigh. We have that terminal. That terminal is very helpful, but it is less powerful than a full power radar and produces less imagery. It doesn't do any of the fancy dual pole stuff that we sometimes talk about when we nerd out on this show. So all that to say, keep your fingers crossed that we don't lose the terminal or we don't lose Columbia during this event tomorrow. Keep this in mind for the next 6 months. And also, if you are a super nerd like us and you use an app like Radarscope, then expect to see lots of red squares over the course of the next 6 months.
One thing I'd like to add, James, to that is with tomorrow's setup, remember tornadoes occur the very bottom of the atmosphere. And so as these beams are shooting up from Roanoke or up from Columbia or Morristown, they're only sampling a real tall part of the sky. And so you may not see that rotation up there as you would down at the surface. So that is another one, especially these quick spin-ups that are possible tomorrow, that will have to be watched. And just to kind of what this reminds me of, this time last week, we had several quick spin up tornadoes. They were weak, but they were tornadoes that affected the Columbia area. And that's kind of the setup we have going on tomorrow with this cold front moving in. And those QLCS tornadoes spinning up. They're on radar for one scan and then they're off. And they're so hard to detect. And then you are looking at this where there's not a lot of radar usage anyway. And the ones that are kind of get interfered by mountaintops and just, altitude. So it's going to be a tough day tomorrow.
It's going to be really hard to see places like Asheville where Evan is because the radar trying to come in from Tennessee is being blocked by the mountains. The radar coming in from Atlanta is just too far away. And the Columbia radar is not all that close either. And the terminal, love it or hate it, it doesn't reach all that far. The terminal is going to go, where is that button I want? The terminal is going to reach out to about maybe Hickory, right? And then it kind of gets degraded. So, it's if we didn't have the terminal tomorrow, I would be very concerned. We have the terminal, but I wish we had more.
We've been talking about that a long time, haven't we?
So long.